These pictures were shot in the first days of the conflict between Russia and Georgia, apparently showing indiscriminate force used against civilians by Georgian troops. It's a side of the story international broadcasters were accused of not showing.
I think that the main reason was that there were so many preconceptions about what had happened that nobody really registered that there was another side to this. And it wasn't helped by the fact that leading politicians in Britain were so convinced and so presented the idea that Russia had invaded, that the idea that this was a sort of two-sided process didn't really get through to the British public.
A report by BBC's Newsnight programme suggests Georgia's armed forces committed war crimes during their attack in August. The BBC says the evidence proving this comes from the first unrestricted visit to South Ossetia by their correspondent. Taisia Sitnik, or Taya, as the BBC reporter refers to her, had spent many hours under the rubble of her apartment block in Tskhinval, with no food or water, in a dress covered with the blood of her dead son. She had already shared her tragic story once with an RT correspondent 3 days into the conflict. Over 2 months later, the BBC is now finally telling her story.
I'm a great believer in popular common sense. The amount of emails I received and other messages, because people know that I'm involved with these sort of questions, was astonishing. And the overwhelming message was disgust at the initial coverage by the BBC. It later did an excellent job, but at the beginning, and in particular also CNN.
Up until recently, Georgia has been seen by many as a small state that suffered at the hands of its big neighbor. But that perception is slowly changing. Georgia's president, who has been positioning himself as the West's closest ally, has now to defend himself.
We strongly deny the accusation of war crimes. But of course, we are very open for any kind of comments. We are very open for any kind of investigation.
Even Britain's Foreign Secretary, known for his unconditional support of Georgia, is now changing his tune.
On my visit to Tbilisi, of course I raised at the highest level in Georgia the questions that have been asked and raised about war crimes and other military actions by the Georgian authorities.
So what does this shift in Western discourse mean for relations between Russia and Britain that have been at their worst in decades?
I think there has been a shift in the British government position on Russia in the last month or so, and some of David Miliband's recent statements reflect that.
Here in Britain, the shift in the assessment of the Russo-Georgian conflict is obvious. The question is whether this change of mood will open a new page in the relations between Russia and Britain, and what consequences it will have in practice, if any. Daria Pushkova, RT.